I was so depressed and suicidal at some times that I just would have to stop in the middle of my job or whatever I was doing and go into the silent prayer. And it really does help. Like, I don't have those anymore.
Amazing. You haven't seen anything yet. Doubt every thought. Bring every thought into captivity. Just let them all pass. Don't judge them. You haven't seen anything. It gets better and better and better and easier, easier, easier. So my gift to you, no charge, at rebuildingtheman.com/church. Steve, thank you for calling and thanks for holding. How have you been helped by the show?
I'm going to tell you this. I believe you might go down in history as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, black man that ever lived on planet Earth, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know anybody before you that's been that great. You know, freeing the slaves is one thing, but you've been freeing people of their mind, which matters, it should be anyhow, to you more than anything else, because with the mind not being right, there ain't nothing else going to happen right anyway.
If you can doubt every thought, because you're not your thoughts, if you can doubt every thought, knowing that you're not your thoughts, you don't create them, they're not from God, that they're from the deceiver, the great deceiver, Satan. If you can doubt every thought, you can be free, just like that. At an instant. Bring every thought into captivity. It's so amazing.
You know, I'm 32 years old now, and I've been clinically depressed since I was 17 years old. And ever since I started listening to you a couple of months ago, bro, I don't even need to hear the word depression. I don't even care about that, because that's not anything that I identify with anymore.
Nice.
I'm 100% cured. I'm 100% better because I've been listening to the Jesse Lee Peterson show, and I can't even begin to tell you how much.
Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home. That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby.
You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border, and then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. Thanks for tuning in, folks, on this fine Thursday. What a fine Thursday it is to be back with you today. Got a bit of a show for you, so it's a pleasure, as always. Pardon me. Hold on. It's a pleasure, as always, to be back with you, okay? So I'm the Anchor Baby. Like I said, I got a bit of a show, and we're going to get into it here. So welcome, everybody. Where was I here? What the... We got a show, okay? And you can call in 888-775-3773. A little lost for a moment there. But we got a bit of a show, and there's drama. There's drama. Coming loose or whatever. What am I saying? Between Trump and Elon. They're saying the bromance is over, and we'll detail what happened here. Some of the messy stuff, but some musings about character, you might find interesting. Something interesting about Trump and his character, and Elon too. He's not happy about the bill. They're calling it beautiful. He doesn't find it beautiful, okay? And we detailed it a little bit yesterday. But it's falling apart. When will they just be friends? We'll get into it, I have some musings too about left-wing violence. They're calling it left-wing violence, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but I was looking at Luigi Mangione. They're saying these diary entries are revealed, and he was really thinking about this. He was thinking about this for a while in his imagination. I mean, he wrote about it and just kind of like obsessed. I find some aspects of this interesting. I hope you do as well. But left-wing violence, that's what they call it. I have maybe some thoughts on that now. On it all going down. There's all these fights going on, endlessly atomized, and it seems like none of it's American. We have some other things too, okay? We'll be getting into a number of things, okay? We got plenty of things to get into. Welcome to the show, 888-775-3773. What else here? Welcome to the show, okay? You can call in. Appreciate all my viewers on rumble.com/American Anchor Baby, punchy.tv/Anchor Baby, dlive.tv/Gorgonzola, and of course, my viewers. What's up here on YouTube? Welcome, everybody. Stencil. What are you talking about, stencils? Oh, Christopher, you think so? That'd be nice. He's saying you can stencil the word Marines on my shirt if you want. Or do you want Army? Just make it look legit, like those shirts that you can only get if you do the pull-ups, like Joel got. Okay? Stolen valor, stolen pull-up valor. I'm not mad about it, Christopher. Send it over. Or should I send you my clothing? Thank you. Appreciate everybody, okay? Welcome to the show. What can I say? What else here? Saying hello to my chat here, okay? Don't be rude. Jump in, say hello, click the like button. You're here clamoring for the crown. The least you could do is click the little like button. Say hello. Leave a little comment. Okay, don't be rude. All right, folks. Let's kind of jump into some stuff here. What can I say? Trump and Elon. They called it a bromance. They called him the first buddy. I mean, these were all media, words they were saying. I don't think they were being too nice from the outset. Okay, but there's been some rumblings of a disagreement between the two. A number of reports, an Axios article, and others detailing a rift, detailing a supposed rift and disagreement coming from Elon. I mean, it's not like it was this big mystery. They were simply, seems to me, looking at his X profile. And they're like, oh, look, he's saying things that are not so much in agreement. So big whoop, big reports. But those were the reports. He was pretty clear. I mean, he's saying he pretty early on this big, beautiful bill. Not pretty early, just by early, I mean, like some weeks ago in terms of when this started hitting the news. He was saying, essentially that it was, before even any of this, he was saying that it's become quite clear to him that to make the government efficient and to really do what he wants to do, that the government's in the way. Wait, hold on. Where are you seeing this, Hake? Oh, no way. Sorry, Hake Report just sent me a little picture here. No way. That's so interesting. We'll get to the Hake Report picture, the JPEG that was sent to me, okay? We'll get to that. Where was I? Rumblings on X, etc. about this rift, okay? And they're saying, Trump, I believe today. I believe this was today, earlier today. He was doing some address or something, and he was asked by reporters about this, and pretty much made it clear, gave his take on what's going on. It didn't necessarily, these articles, they love to add to it, especially the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail can be messy in their language, right? They'll say that that Trump is taking a brutal swipe and all this, but that Trump is saying the bromance is over. I mean, Trump simply said he doesn't know what will come of their relationship. It's in question. So maybe they're adding to it a little bit. He said it's over. It's totally over. So I got some footage for you, just a little bit to start this off, of this bromance ending. Okay, here, let me just pull it up here. Bada bing. We got Trump. So let's watch just a little bit of this so I can get into it here. Let's watch some of this real quick so that I may jump in. Watch this. Okay, hold on. Hold up. Watch this.
Remember, he was here for, he's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk. And even with the black eye, I said, do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup. But he said, no, I don't think so, which is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best things. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it a great, big, beautiful bill because that's what it is. And again, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest economic development moves anywhere. We've never done anything like it. He's upset.
Some of the commentary there, he's saying he's surprised, He's seeing some of the commentary. He said, I don't know what's come of our relationship. I'm a little surprised, he says. I have some thoughts on his surprise. I get an impression of what surprises him, if I may, in a moment here. But so those are some of the comments, right? And he goes on to claim a number of things. He goes on to claim, well, he gives his opinion on what Elon may be thinking, saying that his decisions on the electric vehicle mandate, for example, he makes, he says, he implies that Elon may be upset over that, over the electric vehicle mandate. It doesn't really, it's not totally pro-Tesla, I gather. And he makes another, he adds to it too that there was another request from Elon of a certain individual that he promoted to run NASA, essentially, I gather. And Trump decided with somebody else. So he was putting out his opinion on what he thinks may be going on with Elon besides what he's saying. I mean, and this has devolved, I guess. You could call it devolved on X. This relationship has further devolved on X. And Elon's responding. I find it interesting that Trump in this video said that Elon hasn't necessarily gone personal yet, but I imagine that's coming. And did it get personal yet? Maybe. Elon's saying they're pretty ungrateful. Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude. On the electric vehicles, he says, he gives his evidence that it's not quite how Trump puts it. He shares a video of Trump talking about those EV mandates with Elon and the White House lawn. What do you call this place? Showing off some Tesla vehicles, in fact. And why wouldn't Trump? He was having a really good relationship with Elon, who heavily supported him. We're talking millions of dollars of support, and so he's in there. And I see this really sounds totally like Trump to do something like this, right?
No, sir. The next day. What about Elon? Did he call? He never even mentioned it to me, never complained. Until this moment, I'm just bringing it up. Who would do that? Yeah. He has never asked me for a thing. And he's built this great company, and he shouldn't be penalized because he's a patriot. He's an incredible patriot.
I believe Trump means that. He shouldn't be penalized because he's a patriot.
And I don't even know if he's a Republican.
Mr. President. That's an interesting comment. I don't even know if he's a Republican. I mean, Musk shared this as a response to Trump, but it's funny that in here contains some of the things that Trump is saying.
Mr. President.
But anyway, so he's saying that he mentioned the EV thing here. I mean, that's what Elon is saying on on seeing the bill. One of the claims Trump is saying that Elon saw the bill. He was very well aware of it. Elon Musk says the bill was never shown to me once. It's false. This was passed in the dead of night so fast that almost no one in Congress could even read it. I honestly, I tend to believe it is on these little 3 points. That's the truth is somewhere in the middle. But whatever. This thing on the Congress passing these spending bills. That's how these spending packages go. Honestly, if I may. I mean, that's how they go. They hit some people have been saying this in Congress for years. These bills, they come down, they hit our desk, and it's so much pork, and they just get passed. So that's just seems to be a common occurrence. Let's just be straight up in Congress. So on this, my impression of Elon as a person, as an individual, I get this impression of Elon that he really wants to fix things. He's this mathematical, right, scientific mind, super smart, making these companies, PayPal, right, Tesla, SpaceX, and be very creative and in efficiency and work culture. And he sees these things. I believe he sees the mountain of debt. I believe he went in there. He saw the mess, the pork, whatever. I believe he also may have different priorities in his mind. I see him as this outsider, right? He's this, on wealth alone, consider on just being so wealthy, how that separates you. Your thinking and your philosophy, your approach to the world, it has to be an outsider. So I see him as a major outsider, a critic of the system, and in many ways even it makes sense, a sensible critic. I bet you he's right about what he's saying. About the pork, about the inefficiency in the government. That's just my impression of him. I also get this impression that he has different maybe priorities. When I look at Trump and his actions, Trump is a man, I believe, that is operating within the system, okay? A threat to it, obviously, in response alone, a wrecking ball of sorts, but as an individual, how Trump speaks and his actions, I consider him someone that wants to operate within the system. Consider just, for example, this relationship between what some are saying is happening here. To Elon, he says this, to him, this mountain of debt, this to the point where now the interest alone is one of these biggest payments, right? I see him putting this as a major priority. Others are putting forth different, like, for example, this is some of the thinking out there, just so you can, not this picture, not this image, but what this person on X and others are saying, so I can describe some of the thinking out there. This person is trying to describe this difference in priorities. In this meme, this person is making a joke of Elon getting all excited about balancing the budget here. All right, we balanced the budget. Let's go. And that's him doing that here on the left. And then on the right is another issue. Wow, look at this horde of people who just want a better life. You wonder, what am I trying to describe here? Well, one, I'm describing these differences in priorities and what some people are thinking. There's some are saying, well, Elon, you got to have priorities. Just look at this big, beautiful bill. A major thing is all these border provisions and the things you got to do with mass deportations. Well, I'm describing these two positions for you, but I'm also describing them both of them to also give a point towards why I think Trump is a man that wants to operate within the system. Because consider for a moment that the system is in the way of that. If you were the president, some would call it a dictator. If you were someone who just saw that, wow, this immigration is going to destroy this country. Can't stand. It can't last. Wow, this debt is going to destroy the country. This can't stand. It can't last. In many ways, you would think, wow, all this democracy that people are clamoring for is kind of in the way of actually fixing the country. So you would then not care. Right? We're balancing the budget and we're deporting them all, no matter what. But I consider Trump wanting to operate within the system. You can think, you can maybe debate why. I don't know. I think it's just how he is. it may be just what he has to do. There may be no other way for right now. I don't know, but that's my evidence that he wants to operate within the system. He's working with the Democrats, working in Congress. This big beautiful bill. I think he even described it at one point, saying, we can't get everything you want. You got to chip away at it. I think he said. So that's just my impression of Trump. And so, getting back to this and what happened, a little bit more on my impression of Trump. I think this story is interesting because it's a little bit of commentary on loyalty. Notice even with Amy Coney Barrett, you know her, Supreme Court Justice, and was one of is part of Trump's legacy, in a sense, right? Amy Coney Barrett was one of the Supreme Court justices put forward thanks to Trump, right? I mean, he nominated her. I forget the exact process, but the point is, it's part of his legacy. She was a bad pick from the get. I think a lot of us knew that. He may have not been able to see that, or maybe this was just how it had to go. Some sort of middle ground, something. But the point is, she's shown herself to be terrible. Just siding with the Democrats, siding with emotion, siding against America constantly. I mean, she sided with the people saying, "Bring Kilmore back. You can't deport an illegal. What is wrong with you?" So, but yet, where you'd say, "Wow, he has every reason to maybe to come out and say, well, this is." What am I trying to say? I'm not saying that he'll never come out and criticize Amy Coney Barrett, but there was this story that came out where they detailed his criticisms of Amy Coney Barrett. But if you look at the story, all they had were just things that other people said that he said. He never he doesn't want to make these public comments. I think it's because, put it like this, it's not even necessarily a loyalty to Amy. In this case, I think it's just a loyalty to the process, the Supreme Court, and to his own decisions. Imagine for a moment if he came out and started saying, this was a mistake. This was crazy. It's just the wrong look. He would be right in what he's saying. He would be right, I think. If he came out saying this was a mistake, Amy Coney, we didn't see who she really was. I think he would be correct. But it would just be too much of a dark blemish on the whole shebang, on the whole administration and his decisions and all that. I think it speaks to character a bit. I thought it was interesting too that he said on the black eye, Elon Musk showing his black eye. I offered him makeup. In some ways you could say he just wants to be who he is. Tell me if I'm reading too into it, but I gather that it's a little bit of that old school mentality, a character that, different kind of American character where, you wouldn't show that blemish. You want to show everybody the black eye? They wouldn't even understand. They would judge it in a different way. Elon even went out there and said, no, my son hit me. It was my son. And the internet was like, no, it was his wives, man. It's his wives. He's got all his wives and those, no, it's not like they all like him. And so it's just some musings about what I think is Trump's character. And here's what I'm saying about loyalty. I think this may have been foolhardy in the grand scheme of things. There's obviously a place for criticism, obviously. But consider for a moment what position Elon put himself in. Big donor, just wearing the hat. Are you sure you're the same guy that worked in that administration? You'd think someone loyal would bring those concerns to Trump. You'd also think that a pork bill like this wouldn't be that much of a surprise, even though it got pushed, even though I believe that it got pushed through in the way he said. That's just how these things go. You gotta, some part of you must have seen, okay, this is politics. I want this transformation, but I also was the one that went in there as this big donor and all that. If you come out in this way now, you look silly, don't you think? You look a little foolhardy, unstable. Because I'm supposed to believe you found some smoking gun. You worked with Trump this whole time. You loved everything. Even when you left, you were smiling. You were great. and you found the smoking gun. No, you disagreed on priorities. You disagreed on priorities. And again, I think I believe Elon in what he says. But I think in the grand scheme of things, this may be kind of a foolhardy approach, you know. Did he not drop the One Ring chat? Trump. They're saying they're characterizing it like Elon and Trump walking up the mountain like in the Lord of the Rings, and the One Ring. They have the One Ring, and they go up. They went there to destroy the One Ring because anybody who has the ring, right, is corrupted by it. And they're characterizing it like Elon and Trump. They're both walking up to the mountain, and they're gonna drop the ring. But Trump was looking at the ring, all golden and shiny, and he's like, I don't know. Chad, did he refuse to drop the ring into the mountain with another spending package? I don't know, folks. I trust Trump. I trust him. It's a lot of conjecture. I mean, the claims are of this transformation. So I'm waiting and seeing. It seems foolhardy in terms of strategy, and I think it speaks to both of them and their different character. So what else about this? I think that's all I have to say about this. 888-775-3773. What are y'all thinking about this? The media trying to turn us against Trump. Oh no, what do we do? Nah, Trump is probably thinking long term. Elon probably doesn't see the long game. You know, I can't even be entirely sure. I think you can say there's maybe blind spots with Trump in who's like maybe AI, the tech world. I've seen some reasonable criticisms of those people coming in with Trump. Then again, a database, it's like, I think Trump would use it well. It's like a database of these people here. Yes, well, now we could deport. Now we could do that. Is it a Trojan horse? We'll wait and see. Okay, I'll let you know whatever I can. What else about this? I think we can move on. Let me just see the chat. I'm interested in what you're saying. 888-775-3773. We'll get to super chats and all that. Appreciate the support. All my Rumble supporters. What's up, the Black Dot? Appreciate it. You really think so, the Black Dot? Number one reason, the EV cuts. Number two, the friend not being the NASA appointee. I'm not saying that Trump's a liar. I don't see him like that. I think when he says that Trump, when that Elon is concerned about the EV thing, I know that Elon shared that video of him saying, well, of him standing with Trump and well before and talking about the EV thing. But I still tend to kind of believe. I think I tend to think it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's totally. Oh, it's just the EV cuts, but I don't see him as a liar. I see what I'm trying to say is that it's somewhere in the middle. It's somewhere in the middle. But at the core, right at the end of the day, well, it's a terrible phrase, but you know, after talking about all these details and all that, to me, it seems like in the grand scheme, a little bit of foolhardy. I mean, there's a place for criticism, but in this way, it seems like you should be someone else, right? Is this the same Elon? What happened? And that's what I want to say too. When he says he's surprised, maybe it's presumptuous to know what the president's thinking, but I get this impression that I kind of know what he means by surprise, because it's a thing about loyalty. It's not that you can't criticize. It's just that he was there. He was there to donate, there with them. And anyway, now I'm just repeating myself. Let's just move it on here. Elon lied and said he was going to send the first CubeSat to the moon. I don't know, folks. It's not even like that. Because now I see the MAGA. It's like total liar, Democrat from the get-go. Like maybe some of that, like, I don't know if he's a Republican, but don't be just a little like switch person, you know? You're just full of like these little switches, and you can just let the world switch it for you. You know, you're like, okay, my Elon switches, yay. And then it's just, you know what I'm trying to say here? You show yourself to be kind of a shallow person. You show yourself to be kind of a person not to be trusted, maybe even evil. If you have these switches in you that the world could just switch, right? It's like, you know, just you're an NPC, right? Isn't the left the NPCs? Remember? They're the NPCs. Someone can just download an opinion in you. Elon good? Elon bad? That being said, well, anyways, now I'm just going to forever reflexively comment on this story in my own commentary. So let's move it on here. I got something else for you. Luigi. I want to talk about Luigi. Luigi Mangione. What's up, cuz? How you doing, cuz? How you doing, Ivana? Right. That's what I'm getting at, He Black. It's just, don't let the world just flip the switch on you. Like, come on. This is most likely a genius play by Trump and Elon to sway the media. Trump used to be into the whole wrestling fiasco. I want to believe such a thing, man. It's for 5D, 6D chess. Doesn't really matter. I don't even want to believe that. It's just, it's really not that consequential. Elon on X. Oh. Is that... Wait, hold on. Hold up. Elon Musk made a bombshell claim Thursday. Oh, this is... we're getting some breaking... I mean, this is from Elon's X account. Elon on X. Time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Is that really from Elon? This is getting nasty. Musk. You know, Trump said it too. He was like, you know, it hasn't gone personal yet, but I imagine that's coming. You know, this is what I mean by character. I'm not even like making a commentary on the Epstein files. Like, it's weird stuff, folks. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not informed. I don't know. But when I see Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, and I know this is conjecture and opinions, it's not facts, but they look like they're scared. I don't know what to tell you. That's just pure conjecture, judgment on faces. But so I don't know what's going on with all that, folks. But you know, on character, you know, there goes Trump is right on that. You can't trust angry people. Not to say that I know that Trump is saying that Elon's angry. But when he says, "Oh, I imagine what's coming," personally, he knows not to trust angry people. That's what I gather from that. But you know, Musk, Epstein, whatever. Brutal stuff. It's a nasty world. Will they release those files? What would the public even do? Well, I'm not even getting paid. It's like to circle the wagons here, but it's seriously, I mean, on a serious note, what would the public even do? Wow, with the Epstein files. Let me just stop. Luigi Mangione. Let me move on here. Luigi, you heard about this guy. Luigi, I want to pull it up here. You heard about this guy who killed that CEO, a United Healthcare CEO. And you've seen the support. You've seen the people out there saying, free Luigi. I've commented on it a little bit. They're saying some diary entries were revealed. I don't know if this was all known before, but I laid eyes on it for the first time. I thought a little look into his mind and what he wrote was somewhat interesting. But Luigi Mangione, let me just pull up maybe some info on him. How old is this guy now? 27? This guy's 27 now? 1998. Born 1998. Luigi Mangione. Born Maryland. Okay, 27. He's this guy accused of assassinating this United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. He did this in December 2024. They're calling this a politically motivated act of terrorism. Luigi Mangione, a little on him, if I may. A little bit more on Luigi, if you just didn't know him. In case you find it interesting. I mean, it adds color to the story, right? He hails from a prominent Baltimore family. Okay, his grandfather, Nicholas Mangione, a successful real estate developer, founder of Lorien Health Services. This guy, Luigi, graduated valedictorian from Gilman School, later earned dual degrees in computer information science. Okay, he's an educated individual, got himself a degree. You've seen him on the social media, seems to have all sorts of activities and hobbies, friends, a full life, a seemingly full and rich life, okay? All descriptions from friends and family and roommates as intelligent, nonviolent, just a lovely guy, okay? And it seems like stuff started getting dark in Luigi's life. Some of these people in his life start reporting, they detail a personal struggle with back pain, some sort of health, some sort of spinal issue. They called I don't even know how to pronounce it. Spondylola, something wrong with his spine. Okay, folks. And when I look into it, it's hard to say what caused it. This particular spinal issue can be caused from birth issues, from stress, from injuries. It could really be anything. So who knows what caused it. But this was reported. There are reports that he underwent a spinal fusion surgery. I don't know what that is like, but reportedly he was doing well, moving around, happy and pain-free. Don't know if that lasted, because reportedly these same friends and family say that he started becoming a recluse. Some start saying that it's unclear if this was post-surgery, if he started, reportedly having issues in his dating life due to this stuff. But they say, but it comes to the point where his mother, where he becomes such a recluse and all that, they can't really locate him. His own mother, reports him missing, a missing persons report. Okay. I'm not entirely familiar with what went down with that report and his family, but, we learn of him. We learn of Mangione after what he did, which was essentially, what he did was this assassination of this Brian Thompson, a CEO of this insurance company, United Healthcare. Brian Thompson was shot outside the New York Hilton Midtown Hotel. He was scheduled to speak at an investor conference. Surveillance footage captured a masked assailant, later identified as Mangione, shooting Thompson with a 3D printed ghost gun equipped with a silencer. The shooter fled. There was the manhunt. He was found. He was arrested. Witnesses recognize him, apparently. And he's under these charges and all these legal proceedings and all that, right? The counts of murder, stalking, state charges of first-degree murder, and terrorism. Okay, Mangione. So here's the news that I came across. I found somewhat interesting. It's what they're confirming is his diary entries, and they are revealing them. Luigi Mangione evidence bombshell as his intimate diary entries are revealed. And, going through some of this, let me just pull it up. I guess what I found interesting was a number of things. Here's an individual who he is describing his thinking here. Wow, it's just random person just running around just wanting to kill someone. No, I mean, here he is describing it. He thought about this. He thought about this for a while. And so that's just interesting. I mean, for at least, at the very least, for months, but even maybe up to a year, planning some kind of attack. The attack on this Brian Thompson seemingly was planned for months. And he had picked his target. He had previous targets before. His original targets, unclear what or who they were. In his diary, they're just entered as KMD. And he even thought to himself to commit a bombing of sorts, which would result in a mass casualty event. He later, in this diary, rethinks this. So, I mean, it starts with this. The first thing I wrote down here was these diary entries about how confident he is about his plan. You know, he says, he writes here, I finally feel confident about what I will do. The details are coming together, and I don't feel any doubt about whether it's right/justified. That's such an interesting one, you know. I sit and I think to myself, for real, what could possibly at all, like, what could possibly be a justification for this? And you gather, and he writes about himself. You gather his target, besides the CEO, his target is this corrupt healthcare system, this exploitative system. And he writes himself how insurance checks every box. He says he rethinks his initial targets. Not clear what exactly it was, but he was planning a bombing, a mass casualty, and he rethinks it, realizing that, at least according to him, that would do nothing to spread awareness and improve people's lives. You got to wonder to yourself what he thought would actually improve people's lives, but I guess in his mind, the jump is, well, if you inform and bring it to people's awareness that there's this corruption, then somewhere way down the road, it's unclear, somewhere down the road, people's lives will improve because now they know, and now they know they'll do something about it. But all Luigi has to do, way back here, is kill someone, right? But I guess that makes sense in his mind. But trying to make sense of this, though, you gather that it's this fight against this exploitation of individuals, when all they want is like healthcare, when all they want is to have a better life. And so these enemies, the enemies are these exploiters. And so attention must be brought to it. So again, the question remains in my mind, for real, what could possibly be the justification? Now you think to yourself, well, there it is. His justification was all that. But it just doesn't make sense to me. There's something so vulgar about it. Because if you really read it, it all leads back to his pain. You can't tell me, I don't know if you could tell me I'm wrong here, because we're reading Mangione. You know, he went through this pain and he was hurt by all this, but he saw this injustice, so to speak, in his mind that's being caused to more than just him. So I guess in one perspective, you could see it as a noble cause. You know, it's more than just him. But even that, if you peel it back, it leads back to his pain. It all leads back to his pain. And the boxes were checked, as he writes, the insurance checked all the boxes. By the boxes, he means the boxes of a justified enemy that would justify his actions. Even that, it all leads back to his pain. And because you think this, and what led you there? Your pain. There's something so vulgar, honestly. There's something so cheap and vulgar about that, don't you think? To take on the pain of others in that way. Now, you think it's noble. And that's why those people are out there protesting. You want to sit back and think, these idiots, you guys are out there protesting. Like, you don't even know what No, don't be so obtuse. They, in their minds, see this as someone who actually stood up for something they believe in. So when you look at the world, the vast majority are, right, lifeless people. This is not a justification of what he did. But let's understand why people are doing what they're doing, right? So when you see the women out there yelling, we'll get to that. Let me not get too off the beaten path here. What was I talking about? I'm talking about his pain and how all paths lead to his pain and what motivates all this. And when you see it that way, don't you see it so cheap? Meanwhile, Jesus said to love your enemy. You know, I read about Jesus and how he said that, and it makes so much sense. And, you know, people think that means allow yourself to be destroyed, allow yourself to be hurt, physically hurt in an illegal way, to allow crimes to happen on you. That's like, you're being crazy. But it does mean to allow yourself to be offended. And that's so deep to me. Consider for a moment the vulgarity of the world. This same vulgarity that offended Luigi Mangione, and maybe in some part you can understand it. The vulgarity of he'll call it an industrialized world, that, I don't know, soulless world because of technology. He liked the Unabomber. He liked Ted Kaczynski's writings. And so in his mind, he's like, this capitalist, you know, different flavors, right? I guess you could criticize it all day. But that, essentially, he just had a distaste for the vulgarity of the world. And we can see a different vulgarity, no? And we can all see maybe a similar offense, right? We're all offended every day in our own way. But there's such a powerful lesson there, I think. Meanwhile, Jesus telling you to love your enemy, in my opinion, saying it to allow yourself to be offended. There's such a powerful lesson in that, because the world doesn't love you. And you have to, and you see, hopefully now you see why I think it's so cheap. There's nothing honorable and deep about what he's doing. He's teaming up with a world that doesn't even love him. He thinks these people love him. He thinks the world loves him. And when you take on the fight of the world, I see a shallow person. I see a shallow person that doesn't see the world doesn't love him. Okay? Luigi Mangione, you got to wonder to yourself what he did to spread awareness and improve people's lives. You know, he says the target is insurance. So you want to rebel against the deadly greed-fueled health insurance cartel, he asks. Do you bomb the headquarters? No. Bombs equals terrorism. Well, bully for you for being so sensible. He's saying basically, if I kill innocents, people are going to misunderstand my message, is what Luigi Mangione saying. They're going to miss such actions appear the unjustified anger of someone who simply got sick / had the bad luck and took their frustration out on the insurance industry while recklessly endangering countless employees. Isn't that such a funny comment? Do you see the humor in that? He says, if he were to bomb and kill innocents, people would think that these are the actions, the actions of unjustified anger of someone who simply got sick / had the bad luck / had bad luck and took their frustration out on the insurance industry while recklessly endangering countless employees. That's literally what he did. That's at the core. You can't say it any other way. Yeah, but Nick, he has a point about healthcare. Yeah, fine. Well, maybe we can say that. We'll get to that. But at the core, the reason he went out and did this, he says it himself. This healthcare industry is exploiting. He had those problems with the issues and then not only that, he wants to spread awareness through violence to target insurance. If I went and bombed them, people would think that I simply got sick and had bad luck, but that's literally what happened. He got sick, and you could call it good, bad luck. I don't know what to say. I don't know what happened between him and his insurers or whatever. But spondylosis or whatever is caused by stress, by injury, by being born wrong. Okay, a number of things that sounds like bad luck. And then it sounds like you took your frustration out on the industry. That's literally what you did. That's actually literally what you did. So, you know, isn't that in fact literally what you did? So one more thing here on political violence, you know, this rise of political violence. Some comments on that, if I may. Where was I? You know, on those, how do I put this? The rise of political violence, there seems to have been quite a brazen increase of it. And it is particularly left skewed, if I may. But it's also not just that. It's not just like left. It's foreigners. Have you noticed this? India, Pakistan, the Armenians and somebody else, right? Well before that. Now the Jews and the Arabs, then it's like, are the Russians and Ukrainians out there fighting? I mean, I've seen the protests, to be fair. I've seen some, actually, waving the flags. Endless fights that are not America. You want to call it the rise of left-wing violence. I think that's maybe somewhat true, but also maybe somewhat inaccurate. And it seems like all sorts of people have their own thinkings about it. I mean, consider for a moment that our own government says constantly, the problem is the domestic terrorists are the white people. The rise of white nationalism and white identitarian terrorists and all this stuff they're saying and all this. It's so weird. It's so weird. You look at so Indians and they say white domestic terrorism. I'm like, wow, no way. And then I look out there and I see Indians and Pakistanis fighting Jews and Arabs, like all these people I said. And I'm like, wow, where are the white terrorists? And honestly, you got even look. He must be he obviously has bad information and he's clear or brainwashed or something, because this anti-white brainwashing is deep. It goes everywhere. Israeli media is reporting that Netanyahu is deeply troubled by developments in Washington, particularly the growing influence of the separatist white woke current within Trump's orbit, and by figures like conservative commentator Tucker Carlson. He's obviously confused. BB, the dream team, they'll come back together. And it's not even that like they're that apart, right? But, you got left-wing terrorists. You got these Egyptians killing Jews, setting Jews on fire. You got this left-wing, ridiculous, anti-colonialist, probably loser Rodriguez killing Jews. And you want to say white woke, this anti-white brainwashing is, it's hard to shake, obviously. So I'm not going to judge BB too hard on that. I'm just saying, je seulement dis, as the French say. Okay? I see calls coming in. I will get to all of you. 888-775-3773. I want to just finish this off here. The rise of political left-wing violence. I was thinking about this too, about this so-called left-wing violence. I don't necessarily think that's a bad descriptor. It's just I was just pondering on this. Left-wing violence. Well, let me consider the most recent events of left-wing violence. When I consider someone like Luigi Mangione, he's mad at the health, the insurance, and the corrupt system, and it's exploiting the worker, maybe. Okay, so I gather this sort of left-wing, loose left-wing ideology. But in his diary, he also wrote about how he supports the feds, and those that were whichever organization was hunting him down. And in the diary, he was writing to them, to the feds, saying, "Hey, by the way, this is not against you guys. You guys just do great work for our country. This had to be done with the CEO and all that." And he describes that. You're like, wow, that doesn't suddenly sound like a free Palestine. And he may be free Palestine, but I'm just saying that doesn't necessarily sound like a BLM, anti-cop free Palestine person, right? So, okay, left-wing violence, this nebulous term. And then we'll get to calls. I see you holding. Don't go anywhere. This nebulous term starts losing its meaning. Okay, let's go back somewhere else. Left-wing violence. Egyptian national saying free Palestine, burning those people. Is that left-wing violence? Maybe you can put it in an umbrella term, left-wing, but it's also like anti-colonialist maybe. It's also, particularly Arab and not Jewish. So, okay, that maybe orders those politics. Left-wing, maybe left-wing and something else. I start thinking about these umbrella terms, and I realize that's how these power structures work, okay? You have to, it's like the term POC, people of color. In many ways, you're uniting people that wouldn't unite normally, but if you can just get them to believe in this word, suddenly, as the person who made them believe this word, you now suddenly have a lot of power, so-called power in the world, in the physical world. I mean, in many ways, that's what these terms are. They're attempts to unite and create power structures. I mean, I guess I'm just saying something obvious, but I like saying the obvious. It's interesting to me because they'll call it left-wing violence. Like, for example, if we were at war with Mexico, you would have, I think what would happen is you would have some parts of America, you would have some attacks on Mexicans, maybe. You know, white Americans aren't your average person, if I may, you know, even if left to. But what I'm saying is I think you'll have political violence in America, or maybe Mexicans committing political violence that's illegal and wrong to white people or whatever. What I'm saying is that's what happens with war. That's what happens with belief and ideologies. You got people that believe that share an identity, and some part of them believes they have this identity, like this Egyptian national. I don't know, he sees himself as Arab or something, supports the Palestine, right? That's why he did that in America. Not anti-Semitism just popping up or left-wing violence just popping up. It's people and their beliefs, and that's what's going on with people. Anyways, I got calls. We got to get to you. Oh, by the way, cheering on for this, the people cheering on for the Mangione and all that. You know, have you noticed all those people are sick? They're sick, twisted people. I mean, these left-wing people, they need to invert the power structure because otherwise they wouldn't have anything otherwise. They're usually not they're not usually the men of steel and the creators. They're not usually the Protestant, you know, simple worker that doesn't want much. You could call them a bumpkin, a loser, or whatever, but, you know, they just work hard. They're not the genius engineer making things happen. They're not the man of steel going into the political world and uniting people, making things happen. So what do they have to do? They got to steal other people's stuff. So, you know, these people out there clamoring and all that, freaks. It's dark. Any part of America, any part of the world to sit there and be like, free Mangione. So just putting that out there. That being said, you know, you seen all those women out there? You know, all those women, because there's like guys right now, they're looking at the women supporting Luigi, like, oh, they just like him because he's attractive. And it's like, yeah, obviously that's part of it, but you got to understand it's how it works with women. It's a whole thing here. And instead of, if you just hate him, you'll just look kind of like a loser, right? Like, oh, why do you like Luigi? Because he stood for something, was willing to, go up against the system for it, right? That's how they see it. If you break it down, you know, in my opinion, it's not that. It's actually pretty shallow and angry and silly, but that's how the women are seeing it, right? It's like, wow, he's actually standing up for something. I mean, your average person doesn't, right? That being said, women are so... This is proof they shouldn't vote. They're so evil. Easily, you know, not principled even in the slightest. It's looks, and he looks awesome, and he looks and seems like a fighter, and there might be instinctually correct. Like, yes, should you get this Luigi Mangione to fall in love with you? Wow, you might have a long, maybe up and down relationship, but it's passionate, but that's how they think. So why are they voting? Let's get to Maud out of California. Appreciate your call. You're on the air.
Hello?
How you doing, Maud? Is it Maud?
It's Marty.
Oh, what's up, Marty? How you doing?
Fine. How are you guys doing?
Nice to hear from you, Marty. All is well.
Oh, my birthday's next Thursday.
I heard.
And I'm going on vacation this weekend.
I heard your birthday's coming up next week. So it's too early to say happy birthday.
I turned 42.
Amazing. They say that's the answer to the universe. I can't, well, you know, we'll have to wish you one when you get there. Huh? But it's nice to hear from you, Marty. You know, your birthday's coming up. Let us know when you get there. Amazing. And you're also going to Vegas, right? You ever been?
Yeah, I'm going to be moving there pretty soon, too. And my daughter's graduating next year.
And how's everything else, Marty? You doing well, health-wise and all that?
I'm always in pain, but, you know, I had to go Like I say, day by day.
I don't think anyone can ever tell, though. I appreciate that about you.
You just got to take it slow.
Yeah.
You got to take it slow.
Right on, Marty. Will, wishing you an early birthday in a sense. You dragged it out of me.
Happy belated birthday to you as well.
Nice. Thank you, Marty. Appreciate the support.
I love you guys.
Love you back. Call me back. Call me sometime.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you guys know when I get it there.
Take care. Marty from California. Always supportive. Very nice. 888-775-3773. Always a lovely from Marty there. Okay, let's move it up here. Switch some things around. What do we do here? What are y'all saying about Luigi? 888-775-3773. Let's see what the chat's saying now that we're done with that. And we'll get to some super chats and all that. Yeah, I thought it was like Maudville, like Maud. But yeah, Luigi. You know what I mean, Birdie Bound Brian? He repeated something I said, white Americans are not average. Because my thinking was, okay, should America and Mexico be at war? They would also have political violence happening between them, like Americans and Mexicans in a diverse America, like all these other people, right? Like the Jews and the Arabs, like the Indians and the Pakistanis. But then I thought to myself just a little bit further, I'm like, they're not really just violent like that. I mean, I bet you it would happen, but it's just like, what there's even evidence for this, like what happens when you have like a white liberal country. It's not necessarily violent. It's not a violent country. I mean, look what, Denmark. What happens when you have like a white liberal state? What, Vermont? Yeah, it has not devolved into liberal left-wing violence insanity. It has not devolved into that. I hear. I've never been. But yeah, that was Birdie Bound Brian. Sorry. I'm still looking at the chat. We'll move on in a moment here. Check it out, the chat after the Luigi segment. Yeah. Yep. Violence. And then we'll get to the super chats and the support. I heard somebody threw a red shell at him. Got him, Carver. Luigi, always in the shadow of Mario. Was it a red shell? Which one's the homing shell, Carver? Is it the red one or the green one? I think it's the red one, right? The red one is the homing shell. Okay, the green one you got to aim. The blue one hits number one, whoever's first place. Right, it doesn't turn into hell. I'm saying he's a coward, Nick. Cameron. That's from Cameron. I think about Luigi. Nick, do you read ahead as you read, or do you take one word in at a time? Or maybe one sentence and then words, LOL. You read well. Do you read? You're asking me if I read ahead, and is that why I'm reading so well? No, I'm reading the words as they come, right? Sometimes, have you ever read a passage in front of you with someone next to you? And even if they're not reading it out loud, you can kind of tell how fast they're reading it. I've always got this impression everybody around me reads way faster. Like I'll read the same passage with someone, and they're always way ahead. Enunciate. I had to learn that too, by the way. Maybe that's another thing too, Brian. I didn't realize. Here's the thing. Mumblers don't know they mumble. And you don't think, Nick mumbling, he's loud, he's got energy. I mean, you see me mumble on this show. You don't know it. You think you sound loud. I sound loud to myself, but I was mumbling. So I had to have people with love, people with at least a shred of love in them, point out the blemish on my face and say, hey, you're mumbling. And I had to do it enough times with patience and love. And it's like, wow, I bet you I only mumble sometimes now. Maybe even never. So speaking clearly helps. let's move it on here. Those were the main stories. Trump and Elon and Luigi Mangione. I think we're entering loosey-goosey mode here. So we're going to just have some fun here with some stuff I got saved. Plus, I see your calls coming in. So we'll definitely do the calls. Oh, yeah, and the super chats and all that right after. So 888-775-3773. What should we do first? We were talking about Mexico. And I'll just mention this real fast. It's a short one. It's just something I found interesting. I didn't even know that countries could do this to each other. I mean, I just learned countries have a credit rating. And America's credit rating was adjusted the other day. But just a real quick headline from Daily Mail. Supreme Court, considering we mentioned Mexico mentioned, Supreme Court slaps down foreign government's attempt to blame America for its out-of-control gun violence. Basically, it's a lawsuit coming from Mexico. Apparently they could do that. Supreme Court blocked it. They're like, no, you're not allowed to. I just thought that was an interesting sentence, that it was up to the Supreme Court. Shouldn't it just be, you're just not allowed? But I guess that's not how the world works, maybe, huh? But the Supreme Court blocked a $10 billion lawsuit filed by the Mexican government claiming U.S. firearm manufacturers are responsible for the out-of-control cartel violence and bloodshed that has ravaged the country. That's rich, Claudia Sheinbaum, although they're saying Claudia Sheinbaum has not made any commentary on this. I'll still say that's rich, Claudia. You're going to blame America for that? This is an old one, by the way. People in America have been trying to blame U.S. firearm manufacturers for all sorts of crimes for a while, but I think the way it works in America is they're protected. And I don't know if it's just the Second Amendment. It might be further than that. But I thought it was a little rich coming from the Mexican government here. Where do they get off? But also, maybe I just didn't know how the world worked. Maybe you found that interesting too. But yeah, the court found that Mexico had not shown that the companies had knowingly allowed weapons to be trafficked. So wow, you mean the court considered it? I mean, that's what this is, right? They considered it. They looked at the case and were like, well, they did not show that the companies knowingly allowed weapons to be trafficked. So you're telling me if Mexico showed that the companies knowingly did, they could sue us? It's like, no, get out of here. Make the noise in your country, but we're not even going to look at the case. Maybe I don't know how the world works. Okay. It does not pinpoint, as most aiding and abetting claims do, any specific criminal transactions that the defendants allegedly assisted. They're probably getting at something that's somewhat true, though, huh? You ever hear about what was that project with Obama, right? Weren't they running guns to Mexico? What was that project with Obama? Mexico's Ministry of Foreign Affairs disagreed with the landmark decision about the case, obviously, which her government had wanted to proceed under an exception. I mean, what are you going to do with the cartel, Sheinbaum? Maybe you should not attack Trump, and maybe you should consider a radical, creative vision. Have some vision, Claudia Sheinbaum. Team up with Trump and bring in the military and maybe create like a, they were saying we should make like a Trump Plaza over there in Gaza. Actually make some money. How about we actually make some money, huh, Mexico? They probably do make money, but imagine all more you could do with some stability of a no cartel. Consider it. Hey, depends on who you ask, right? Because some actually enjoy the economics the cartel brings. Depends on who you ask. Claudia Sheinbaum, I think you have more problems than Smith & Wesson and gun manufacturers. But enough of that. Let's get to Mark out of Los Angeles. How are you doing, sir? You're on the air.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
All is well. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask the question to the audience and to you, what the U.S. would look like if there were no colored people, black, Hispanic, if it was solid white the way it was intended to be. How do you think life in America would be different?
I have to assume that life in America would be somewhat like when I go to like up the street to like the Jewish white area. I have to assume it'll be kind of like when I visit what's that place? Huntington Beach or whatever.
Okay.
Tell me where I'm wrong here. I have to assume it would be somewhat like that. Without going too far into my mind, how exactly it would be, right? Like, it would be an absolute utopia. I mean, I can at least give you evidence of what it would be like right now. I mean, there are kind of white majority areas right now. I think it would be like that. Safe, clean, I bet you those. I bet you the public transport would be an interesting. I think you'd see an instant change to public transport. These are just things off the top of my mind.
Well, I agree. I think you're right. I agree with your answer. The only thing about the Jews, they're not normal whites. I mean, even though their neighborhoods are safe, safer than Negro areas and whatnot, they're still not Christians. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying.
Acceptable. I would say more like the countries in Europe who haven't allowed immigrants to come in. I'm thinking of Hungary, Poland, maybe Czechoslovakia, countries that have not allowed Satan's children to enter.
What are those countries like? I'm not familiar.
Well, they're all white, 99.9 white. Talking to Poland, talking about Hungary. Now, you will get blacks over there because Facebook and these big media conglomerates are so big.
I've never been to Hungary. I mean, so you're saying they're 99% white?
Right. But they put their black employees there just to spite the whites in Poland, for example. I saw a little piece where some black guy was living in Poland that worked for Facebook doing whatever.
Is Russia majority white in the same way like Hungary and Poland?
Yes.
Would you want to live in Russia?
I don't want to live in Russia.
Why
but
not?
I would take Russia over the South Sudan.
I think I could agree with that. I mean, if we're making comparisons, I'll take Russia over the Sudan. But why wouldn't you want to live in Russia? What makes Russia not a place you want to live in, being majority white, kind of like Hungary and Poland? I'm just not that familiar with any of these countries, but I do want to know what you're thinking.
They're unstable governments. I mean, as much as I love Poland and Hungary and Russia, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, how many dictatorships have they been under over the last 100 years?
And I hear the quality of life is not even that. It's not that it's terrible, but it's not like the best or anything. It's a pretty tough life for a lot of Russians.
I saw pictures of Poland recently, and I mean, their cities are clean. The women could walk the streets at any hour of the night in relative safety.
Amazing.
And it looked clean. The food looked good. Everything looked good. The only problem, we don't know if Russia's going to take them over again. I mean, you just don't really know the future in those countries. It's unfortunate.
Right.
But America was, I believe, gifted by God to be run by white men. And in the Bible, slavery is condoned. And when we had black slaves, America was in its heyday. At the time of slavery, that was probably the only time.
I can't confirm or deny what you're saying. I mean, a lot of what doesn't sound right, but also you're saying, well, whites are God meant for them to run America. Maybe. But you're making a claim. Well, I'll let you finish what you're saying, but I have a different question for you, Mark. Go ahead.
Well, let me just say that at the time of slavery, that was the only time in American history that the streets of America were not crime-ridden. Now, of course, there were crime in that time, but nothing like today. After slavery ended, that's when the crime rate started flying, started going off the charts. And when the 60s hit, that it just opened up the floodgates. So again, I think I may have mentioned this before, that the Civil War, the wrong side won in the Civil War, and we're still paying the price for it today. Blacks are never going to get over the slavery guilt trip they're putting whites on, and they will use it as a battering ram to instill a guilt complex in the white man, the way the Jews do with the Holocaust. They beat us over the head, so we give $6 billion a year to Israel, and look what that's gotten us. Nothing but hatred for the rest of the world.
Grievance industries, man, around the world.
So what was your question?
You might be right on some. I said you might be right on some of what you're saying. I don't know, but I wanted to ask you. You said that Poland has not let in any of Satan's children. Who are you referring to?
The non-whites, the Muslims,
Why do you say those are Satan's children?
Look what they do look what they're doing to our society. Look what they're doing to the rest of the world in France, in Germany, in England, even in Ireland. They're coming in, they're raping the women, they're pushing their fake, phony, satanic, demonic religion on people. It's not Christian. And
makes...
their influence is evil. We don't need them. We don't want them. I'm speaking for the white majority. The only reason more whites don't side with me is they fear for their jobs.
Yeah.
When Lincoln Rockwell lived, he said...
Well, I don't want to get too off what I'm asking you here. I mean,
no,
I
know.
I know you come on.
But the reason
I'm not saying,
we win
finish that statement.
Because whites are afraid of losing their jobs. They're
Fair
afraid
enough.
of
I
losing...
understand the white guilt, and I can agree with some of
not
what
even
you're saying.
White guilt, it's white fear. I'm
right,
sorry.
fear. I can understand and agree with some of what you're saying. But I am asking you why. You said, I guess you told me who you call the Satan's children. But why? Why do you say that they are Satan's children? I know you said it's because of how they're acting and what they're doing to America, for example. But what makes them Satan's children?
For example, where do you want to start? Look at the crime wave in this country. Mm-hmm. Every day whites are being killed by Negroes. It's just that the media doesn't report it.
And what makes those Negroes Satan's children?
Because they're angry. And when you have anger, I believe I heard this on your station.
Yeah.
That's you're doing Satan's work.
Right.
They're angry about segregation. They're angry about slavery.
I see.
They're angry about their own station in life.
I agree.
Okay, then why the question?
Because
I answered it, but I mean I respect.
Do you think Polish people are angry?
When you ask me,
and I appreciate the answer, Mark. Thank you. You've answered absolutely and honestly.
Now,
but do you? But another question for you: do you think the Polish? Because it sounds like you agree with me, and I that is true. I do say that. So thanks for agreeing. So do you think there are any Polish people that are angry, that have anger?
Oh, sure, there are. I've met them.
Wouldn't that make them Satan's children too?
No, because the thing that they're angry about is a reaction to the colored people not just Negroes, but Muslims, Arabs, and whatnot in Europe that are committing these atrocious crimes against whites. They're angry about that, but that's justified.
But I'm not going there just quite yet. If I may be clear here, notice I haven't quite gone there yet because I'm not denying or agreeing with that. And if you were to ask me, come on, Mark, I would understand the Polish. But notice in my question, I had not even gone to what the Polish are mad about and et cetera. I simply asked if you see them as having anger because you agree with me that it's anger at the core of what's making you Satan's child, right?
Yeah, some of them do.
So before even exactly what's making them angry and your thoughts about it, isn't simply having this anger, or do you just not see it that way? It sounds
okay.
Doesn't having this anger make you that Satan's child? Not what you're angry about.
Well, it depends on how you act out on it. If you're mad and you keep it to yourself and you don't attack others or try to hurt other people, then I don't think you're doing Satan's work. But if you act out on your anger and attack white women and rape them or kill them or kill white men, which is happening all over the world, there is a war on whites. I'm hoping you're aware of that.
I understand that. I just find this particular discourse interesting to me. I mean, you're talking about Satan's work, and I find that discourse interesting. And it sounds like you agree there is such a thing as Satan's work, and it operates in people, and maybe through this anger as well. You're saying if you don't act on it, though, you're not doing Satan's work.
Well, to a degree, I mean, it still may be a sin to hold it in. But
and that's kind of what that's that part. It's that part that interests me a lot. I think in a lot, in a lot of ways, these same. If you just call, it just doesn't make sense to me, Mark. If I may split some hairs, it's the wrong thing to say. I can agree with everything you said about these invaders, etc. But to say they are Satan's children and others aren't, I think you're saying it's simply because of their race. Am I wrong, or am I seeing? Am I being obtuse on something? What do you think?
Well, I'll give you an example. In Boulder, Colorado, over the weekend, an Egyptian man with an open flamethrower attacked, even though they were Jews, they were still white. He attacked him with a flamethrower. To me, that's Satan's work.
I agree.
To me, that's of the devil.
I agree.
When they had the Unite the Right rally about 8 years ago in Charlottesville, there was a Negro with a flamethrower trying to kill our white brothers who were marching. Fortunately, a Klansman had a gun on him, shot at the savage, and he put his flame. He didn't shoot him, shot at him, and that the cowardly Negro put out his flamethrower.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I understand what you're saying. No, I understand what you're saying. I'm glad we're talking.
Okay, so these
you're talking. Yeah, Satan totally motivated those actions. I can understand what you're saying. Like Satan is their father. Like no,
exactly.
I'm not, right. No,
and the black Muslims,
I'm not trying to be obtuse here. I understand what you're saying. It's just. I care about this topic a little bit, I guess. Because, for example, wasn't at that same rally, wasn't there an individual who ran someone over?
Yeah, he was surrounded by Antifa Black Lives.
Fair enough.
And he tried to escape. He would have walked if it was up to me. But it's the same with Chauvin.
So was that more of an accident than like someone passionate and getting angry? That person in that car?
Well, he was driving, trying to save his life, the way I see it.
So then maybe I don't really have a good point there. So anyways,
no, that's okay.
But let's say, for example, that person ran someone over in a moment of passion. I would call that the very same anger that would be evil. Because you're saying, you were describing another situation, right? I'm just saying that would be the very same anger if in that situation, that individual who ran someone over and they did it and the details were not how you put it, but it was more like they ran someone over in a moment of passion. They could have totally escaped. It didn't have to go down that way. I would say that anger motivated that person too. And they would be wrong for that. They would be doing Satan's work.
Okay, that was James Fields.
That's who I'm talking about.
And he was surrounded, if you look at the video.
Right, so that's why it's not a good example.
Okay, those are Satan's children that were surrounding him, by the way. Antifa, BLM, those are the children of the devil. Their goal is to destroy white America. They dress up like women. I'm talking about Antifa now. They dress up like women. Half of them at least, are transvestite and race-mixed evil people. And they want to destroy us, the white man. That's their stated goal. Black Muslims call us white devil. So who's got the devil in them? Who's got the devil in them?
It sure sounds like anger. I won't deny that. No, I'm not going to be obtuse and deny that. I was just wondering what you thought. I was just wondering if you saw it that deeply. That's all. I was just wondering if you saw it that deeply, if you saw it as a spiritual battle. And I was just wondering what you thought. That's all.
Oh, yeah, it is a spiritual battle. Evil versus good. The white Christians are the good. And the groups that I described, not just Negroes, not just only black, but all those
I'll let you decide, chat. Well,
Pardon
Mark, I appreciate it, man. Anything else? Last thing you want to say?
Yeah, there was something else I had on my mind, but we got to talking here. Oh, well, the last thing I'll say is that the case of Derek Chauvin, which some weasel on Hake Show is always bringing up, I'm finished with the issue, but he's a political prisoner, Chauvin is. And the people that are happy that he's in jail hate cops. It's just that simple.
I'm not familiar with the discussion that was going on in Hake, and I'm hearing that some apparently, you have your thoughts on Derek Chauvin. Apparently someone brought up some. I'm hearing a somewhat good argument maybe against what you're saying, but I'll put it like this. Here's my thinking. That's like, let's say you can say something or whatever was actually on the up and up on what went down on Derek Chauvin. In my mind, the whole reason it even came down was public opinion and
Black
BLM
racism.
and racism. So there was,
Black privilege.
if you want justice there, you maybe should redo the whole thing.
Well, okay. The best way to
maybe coming at it from an ignorant position.
No, you're good. The best way to end this Chauvin story is to first negify. I'll use that word again, negify, because I'm dealing with an idiot, not you, but some guy that calls himself evil.
Magify?
Negify. In other words, eliminate his arguments against me.
I've never heard that word.
Yeah, I know. I made that word up. I was dealing with an evil man, so I decided to use that word, and he tried to use it to make me look stupid. He said everything I say is wrong, and I really wish Hake would let us debate, but I want that sucker to pay the $150 first.
We'll get to your comment.
$100 to bond to debate me. Take the sucker's money and let me at him. Okay, and the final thought on Chauvin. Ed Martin, you may or may not know who that is. He's a U.S. attorney for the Justice Department. He was spat on by a communist about 2 or 3 weeks ago in Washington, D.C., because he defended the J6ers. He's reviewed the Chauvin case, and he's far more intelligent than Satan's brother, or whatever he calls himself, the real evil guy. Martin knows all about the case. He studied up and down. He said it was a bad decision, and he's working on trying to get Derek Chauvin pardoned. And whether or not he's pardoned and goes to state prison, although we don't want him in jail, it would still be a victory. But there
Moving
are
to
some,
state prison? And why?
Yeah, well, that's the argument, that if he gets sprung by Trump on a righteous pardon, that he may have to spend time in a state prison. That's the evil one, or whatever he calls himself. That's his big argument. He wants to keep Chauvin in jail, whether it's state or federal. He's trying to say he's safer in federal prison. What does he care about his safety? He doesn't care. He's just such a phony creep. And my final thing on Chauvin is look at Ed Martin. Ed Martin is a good man. He defended and got released several J6ers. He's looked at the Chauvin case. Chauvin should walk. He should get pardoned. What happens at the state level, I don't know. I know that the jury in the state trial were pressured by rioters outside the court to come up with a guilty verdict. And you have a communist attorney general who's Antifa, who promoted the persecution of our white brother Derek Chauvin. And that's the last I'm going to say about it.
Do you think much would happen if Derek Chauvin be released or whatever? You think the country would riot and all that?
Sure,
why do I have this impression that people don't care? Or am I look?
Well, what's right is
wrong?
right. Guy's not guilty. He should walk. If Satan's children want to riot, let them burn their own ghettos down. They come into the white areas, lock and load. Because we can't be held hostage by a bunch of white-hating criminals. And that's what's happening here. Chauvin is a political prisoner. And you've got white, sellouts that are cheering on his imprisonment. And I think it's despicable. But that's the last
thanks, Mark.
thing
Appreciate your call.
on your show or Hakes that I'm going to mention Chauvin. Now, if the clown wants to debate me, he's got to come up with the 150
Well,
bucks.
I'm not familiar with this, so.
Okay, well, Hake will fill you in. Thank you.
No problem, Mark. Appreciate your call. Call me again.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Take care. 888-775-3773. Let's check out some of these super chats. We got some amazing coffees. We got some amazing members and supporters on Rumble. And some of my viewers here. How you doing? The Black Dot Deconstruct. You think if Trump was on those files, the Biden auto pen administration wouldn't have released them? That's an interesting comment. Black Dot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to say what I think because I'm so ignorant on this. I just seen sweat and fear on the face, I think. But let me move on. The bill has been in Congress for months. Well, appreciate this. Appreciate the being there, the Black Dot. Thank you, member, the Hake Report member, supporter on Rumble. It's amazing. Shout out to someone yet again. More coffees. Very nice. And look at this. Some super chats on YouTube. So we got Harmony Grits. Amazing. Thank you so much. Always with the union dues. Harmony gets it. And she was asking yesterday, do you think Elon criticizes the big beautiful bill because it repeals Biden's EV mandate? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't get that impression from Musk. And then Trump the day after, egg on my face. Yeah, the EV mandate. I still get that impression of Musk. Like it's just it's a matter of priorities as opposed to, and it's more in the middle with what really made him mad. I tend to believe Trump when he says that something changed when the EV mandate stuff came up, but I'll leave it at that. Thor Mode with a super chat says, if the United Healthcare CEO was black, do you think the big brain Bill Burr would have applauded him on The Predator, Jimmy Kimmel's show? A lot of barbed commentary there from my super chatter, Thor Mode. But I'm not even familiar with some of this. Did Bill Burr go on Jimmy Kimmel and applaud the United Healthcare CEO? Yeah, I'm not surprised. Bill Burr, it's brutal. It's unreal. It's brutal. It's unreal. I make a whole bunch of money. I have a wife. Everybody hates me that I love my wife. I make a whole bunch of money, but yeah, it's brutal. These CEOs, they got to die. I make a bunch of money. They should turn on me. The revolutionaries should turn on me, but it's brutal. No, it's unreal. These CEOs. Did he really go on some show and support this Luigi Mangione, this Bill Burr, hell of a guy? My wife is black. My wife is black. It's brutal. It's unreal. My wife is black. You'll never say that. Maybe they have a beautiful relationship. Okay, maybe they don't fight. Maybe she doesn't beat him up. I'm laughing because I've seen clips. You know, that woman is, imagine being married to that one. And just saying. It's unreal. Let's keep it moving here. We got Dennis out of New Jersey. How you doing, sir? Appreciate your call. You're on the air.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
All is well, Dennis, and yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm doing fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, I keep hearing a whole lot of stuff on the internet talking about a race war and stuff like that. Is this real, or is this just stuff that they talking about on the internet? Is this the next fad?
I mean, the way you're describing it, it sounds a little bit more like hype and a fad because, I mean, that's just ridiculous on its face. There is no organized war. There's nothing like that is happening. It's more of a long, drawn-out burn, and it could devolve into this or that, but it's as it stands right now in the anchor baby's mind, it's far more nebulous and than anything like you just described. So,
yeah,
I think that's talk.
Yeah,
but what they're talking about is, it's talk. But what they're talking about is I don't know. The race is trying to talk about each other. That's what they're trying to do. I say let them.
Yeah.
Maybe not the whole violent stuff, but yeah, talk about each other. Why not?
Talk about each other? Yeah, I mean, shut up. Yeah, while they doing all that talking. Yeah, if they want to, while they doing all that talking about each other, I'll be busy trying to, make this money. So,
hey,
yeah, while they wasting their time.
Now that's something we can shake hands on, sir. All about this white and black. Where's the green? There's something that's deeper than most people think.
Yeah,
while everybody's really for real, while everybody's mad at each other, and they're 99% of people that are mad at each other because they were told. Everybody else who's awake and outside of this power structure is making money.
Right. And I've been broke, you know what I'm saying? I've been poor, so I know what that feels like. So the sooner I can get to where I don't have to worry about that no more, the sooner I could just kick my feet up and chill,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and start thinking like the rich people.
Right, and they don't think. That's the thing. These people outside of these structures don't think in those ways.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think. They might think, wow, these are white people and these are these people. But they're like also outside of it, in a sense.
Yeah, only thing they care about is their bottom line, what the profit margin is. That's all they care about.
So what do you
and their family.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yep. So what are you calling in about besides that?
Oh, yeah, I called in. So like I hear a lot of white folks saying that, why don't they separate themselves from us and all that stuff, the black people or the colored people. Like, what do you think America, of course, this is a hypothetical, and then, of course, we'll have to, like, use our imaginations. But what would America look like if it was all white, like no colored people, like, or a very, very small percentage, like maybe, I don't know, like Idaho type percentage white, like where it's like 95% white. What do you think this country would be like?
Yeah, my previous caller asked me a similar question. What would America look like if it was majority white or just all white, if there was no colored people? I mean, it's hard to say, like you even said yourself, it's hard to go into your imagination about these things. I try to stay out of it, but do we have to go that far into our imagination? There are white-dominated places right now. And I hear there are some maybe not so nice white majority places. So I think it would be I can only say that it would probably be a lot like somewhere, some combination of Beverly Hills and Huntington Beach and all that, and then a combination of like what's it called, like the Midwest. I gather it would be something like that. Some
or the Appalachian Mountains or something.
I'd gather it has to be somewhere in between there. But I think public transportation would suddenly improve like a lot instantly. It would be a delight to be on public transportation. I mean, these are just things off the top of my head, but you know, someone brought up a similar question recently on the network's shows about what happened if America was majority not white, if it was majority black or not white, etc. And I know that was a controversial one.
Isn't it?
You said what? Mm-hmm. Someone brought that question up.
It's
is what I'm
pretty close to it now, isn't it?
It's starting to get closer and closer.
Yeah, it's pretty close to it now.
In some areas already, way above. But what I'm getting at is, I know that was a controversial question, but consider, before you get into even like controversial racial statements, if America was majority non-white, Kamala Harris would be president. What do you think about that? Do you agree with that? Would you agree that Kamala Harris would be president if we were whites were a minority? Do you first agree with that statement? And two, what do you think about it?
No, I don't necessarily believe that. You know, I don't believe that there's a Trump or a figure like a Trump if this country was majority like a minority or a majority.
Oh, that there wouldn't even be a figure like Trump coming up.
Yeah, because I don't think because Trump is a businessman. He's not going to run and not have any chance of winning. He's smarter than that.
Well, okay,
yeah, so he knows.
That's actually an interesting question. That's somewhat interesting to bring up. But let's leave that out for a second. In the hypothetical, it's the same 2024 election. It's the same Kamala versus Trump. But right before everyone is about to vote, someone snaps their fingers and magically, there's no white people. What do you think would happen? Kamala Harris would be president, or do you deny that?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So what do you think about that as a commentary on if America would become minority white? What do you make of that? I mean, Kamala Harris would be president. What does that say about a minority white America, without even having to get into controversial racial statements?
Well, it's so many dynamics that you have to touch on when you talk about like all of the white people disappearing, like you got all of the stones from that guy. What's the guy? What you call that guy from the Marvel universe who snapped his fingers?
Yeah, Thanos.
Yeah. And you're talking about more than half the population of 400 million people. So now you're bringing the population down from 400 million people to 200 million people, and now the majority of the colored people in this country all reside in mainly reside, as a matter of fact, in metropolitan areas, whether it be New York City, Los Angeles, Houston, Detroit, so on and so forth, Chicago. So, New York, all of these places, DC, and then you have the rest of the country that's just going to be barren, empty, and the majority of the farming industry comes from.
Right, it's a silly hypothetical. Maybe when you try and put it in reality, it might kind of fall apart. But let me put it like this then. What was I going to ask you? Put it like this then. Oh man, I had a good question for you. Darn, I can't remember. Are you a Trump supporter? Did you vote for Trump?
No. But something. This was the first year that I ever voted, right? And I said, hey, let me go out and vote. And I'm an older guy, and I said, let me go out and vote. And when I went out and vote, I said, who should I vote for this time around? And because because I thought that, I was getting used to the Biden administration, even though, a lot of things were going bad or going wrong. At least it was something that I was getting used to. So I knew that, Trump would come in and he would be like a huge adjustment because I knew he would like go feel like 180 degrees in a different direction than what Biden was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let me just stick with something that I'm used to stick with the devil that I know, you know. So that's why I went with Kamala, because I figured that she was just going to be an extension of what Biden was doing. And then I could just, you know, cruise on from there. But now that Trump's in, then now I've got to make adjustments.
I understand. I hear what you're saying. It depends on who you ask, right? But if you ask someone like me, I'd say the mere prospect of a continuation of Biden should have been bad enough to not want it. But we don't have to get into that. I remember what I was going to ask you, if I may, because you were saying about about in my hypothetical, snapping your fingers, right? It's just not going to work. But let me put it like this then. In knowing that 2024, if non-whites voted and Kamala Harris would be president, what I'm getting at, and here's the question for you, doesn't that prove the races are not equal? In some way, shape, or form, without getting into anything that's controversial or uncomfortable, doesn't that prove the races are not equal?
Not equal?
Yeah, there's in some way informed they're different. Because if not, they're
different, but
right.
in equal.
Different enough, and in this case, different enough that a whole different president would be. We would have a whole different president direction in my mind. So that's why the question is interesting to people. Should all whites be gone? Should all blacks be gone? Blah blah blah. It's for that reason this question becomes fascinating to people. Because I mean, you agree with me? The races are not the same. They're not equal.
They're not equal. Well,
yeah,
how does
they're not the same. They're not.
Race?
You said what?
How does someone quantify a race? Because
well, I'm not making.
Equal,
I haven't gone into quantifying it. I really wouldn't know where to begin. But I mean, I did give my attempt, and my attempt was right there. I gave it to you as look at how they vote.
Yeah, I think they're different.
Right.
But I think, like I said before, you know, a lot of the minorities in this country reside in metropolitan areas, and metropolitan areas throughout the country mainly go Democratic, even in Republican-run states, you know, because Texas and Houston are Democratic cities as well. And, you know, those are the biggest cities in the whole entire state of Texas, which is, you know, a huge Republican state. But yeah, so all of these people that say that they want to get rid of, like, the colored people, in particular, like the Africans or the black people in this country, like, it's like, do they know the history of this country? Like, do they know, like, why it even began? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the black people and the slaves that were brought over here to work on these plantations, like, help, like, the international trade in between, you know, the Americas or the New World and Europe, like, in billions upon billions of dollars was made by all of these entrepreneurs. And
but I don't understand your point.
Well, I'm saying, like, so you're saying that...
You're saying the America's founding was slavery?
No. Well,
the reason it was created was slavery?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. The 13 colonies, but
America was like a people that wanted to be these people.
And why did slavery start to begin with if it was useless?
Well, me not knowing the answer to that question doesn't prove that that's the creation of America. It's just a bit of a stretch. I think I know what you're getting at. Here, let's we got to kind of move on a little faster here. I get where you're getting at. I mean, you're saying, I mean, the slaves were brought here. It's been there from the beginning. Why are you trying to pretend like this, like you know, you're trying to create if you want this white country, it never was like that. Is that essentially what you're saying?
Yeah, basically this country needed, you know what I'm saying, the black people to build itself, and it needed, you know.
Well, that's a bit of a stretch of a comment, personally. Like,
I mean,
you
so
think they wouldn't have been able to build America without blacks?
Of course not.
Well,
I mean,
I want to ask you what makes you say that, blah, 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 but you'll have to call me back on this just, you know, because of time, because I wanted to get to this. You're saying about separating and not separating. It's like, why do you want to do that? We'll put it like this. if you just let the people who want to separate, and the people who want to stay together, and just let people do what they want to do?
I mean,
Why is
that's
that so
what we're doing
wrong?
now, ain't it?
Not
Ain't that
necessarily.
what we doing now?
No, not necessarily, because if you were to make like a white town and say only whites are allowed, that would be like illegal. That would be wrong. Or if we made like a state,
Yeah, of course,
a white
that's
only
against the
state,
Constitution.
and you can let all the other states be diverse, that would be wrong. That would be like illegal or whatever.
Yeah, it's against the Constitution. It wouldn't be America anymore. If you want a country
But when
like
you
that,
see-
you
but
should
look-
like go back to like Adolf Hitler in Germany.
Why does it
like,
have to be all
67.
that? Why are you making assumptions in your mind? Why does it have to be Adolf Hitler? Why does it have to be all that?
is.
But look, Dennis.
I mean,
Dennis, there's literal
literally,
video.
the
I saw a video
Constitution-
today. Sorry, no, I saw a video I think the other week, and it was a black man in his neighborhood, and he's just on the front porch of his home, and he's armed. It's not initially visible, but some cop. The video is of some cop. He shows up, and some cop shows up because of some disturbance call or whatever, and this guy is on his porch, and he's talking to the cop, but the cop sees the gun, and it turns into this issue. No, you got to drop the gun. Blah blah blah. And then and then all these people started coming out saying, "What's this cop doing here? He should just leave him alone. This is racism." You know, I look at all that. I'm just like, let them. You know what I mean? They're right. Don't put any more. The cops shouldn't even make your own cops. Make your own town, right? Where you don't like these rules. Blah blah blah. Like at some point, Dennis, when are you gonna? At some point, when are you gonna? What? Just like fight them on that? You know what I'm saying? Like. At what point do you just let them have their own? At what point do you just let them live how they want to live?
That don't make any sense. Like, why would you build a whole entire country based on laws and then disregard the laws just because one segment of the group disobeying the law, or
Dennis,
one black person in this
It's not one small little thing.
town.
It's not
So
one
you
small
say,
little
how
thing,
many
Dennis.
black people
It's
are- how
decades.
many-
They're teaching children, young children in schools for decades, telling them you're racist, telling them that there's, you know what I'm saying, Dennis. It's been 249 years of what
Have you ever built
of this
anything?
country, and so things might have to, can things change after some time? That's all I'm saying. After that much time, maybe people don't agree anymore after 249 years.
Okay, so you work in the organization, right?
Yes, sir.
And in your organization, I guess it's the JLP network. I'm not exactly
Bond.
sure. You guys have
I work for Bond.
Bond. Yeah, you guys have rules, right?
Right.
And let's say one of you guys that are in the group that work at Bond is giving the rest of you guys a hard time for whatever reason, or you consider him giving you a hard time or whatever, right? Are you going to tear down Bond, the rules of Bond, so that you can stop the person that's irritating you guys?
No, that Bond wouldn't. I
That's
wouldn't tear
exactly
down.
what you're saying.
No, hold on. Let me explain. This is a fine hypothetical, and I'll approach it. Fine. Put it like this: I wouldn't be tearing down Bond. The Bond would just tear itself apart because, let's say, in this to make a more accurate hypothetical, if we'll play this game a little bit, in this scenario, this person who is causing problems or perceived to be causing problems also has like some people supporting him. There's a group of people in this hypothetical that are saying, no, he's not doing anything. It's actually you're racist or whatever. And then the other side is like, no, da, da, da. At some point, that group will just tear itself apart. It wouldn't be like me doing it, It's just the group tore itself apart in the same way a country can do that. So that's all I'm getting at. It's not really a good argument to say the country, but the country was founded like this. It might be a somewhat good argument, but that's all I'm saying, right? It ends up tearing itself apart regardless of how you want it to go.
It's just, I don't know. I just think that Americans in general just gotten soft and weak because we've been through a civil war, a revolutionary war, several pandemics, the Great Depression,
right?
World War I, World War II,
right.
Vietnam,
and still
and then
people
all of a sudden,
and still it's not enough.
And then
and yet,
all of a sudden,
and the blacks want more,
the
and the immigrants want more, And the
Wanted to
women
hear it
want
all day.
more. And they still want more. It's not enough. A civil war. You're right. A whole civil war. The civil rights movement. Countless generations saying, yes, it's over. We're doing it, folks. We love you. With no more racism. Let's do it. And it's still not enough. I agree, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. They say hard times make strong men make easy times make weak men. And I think we're in that cycle of we're standing on the shoulders of great men in the past that have done great things. And, a lot of the men nowadays are turning into soy boys.
Well, fair enough, Dennis.
Crying.
Appreciate your commentary. Call me again.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome. Sure thing.
All right. And it's still not enough. We're in the garden. We're in the Garden of Eden. Civil rights have been enacted. And it's still not enough. All right, y'all. Coming to a close here. Hope you've been enjoying the show. Pardon. Coming to a close here. Last few minutes of the show. Let's see what we could do here. Let us see what we could do. Super chatters, thank you so much for this continued support. Carver writes, what's Derek's batting average on caller names? Like, if I could give you a ratio on how... here's the thing about these things. And this is not me circling the wagons. Okay, maybe I'm a beta male. I'm not feeling for him. It's a matter of, yeah, okay, fine. You compare the ratios. Maybe he's getting callers more than him. But that's all. It's because it's more than everybody else. Which is egregious. It's got to get fixed. But of course, you're going to notice when someone's ratio is 0.5 worse than someone else on calls that you get correct to calls that you get wrong. Right? They're the outlier. and the weakest link must be made stronger. As it should. That's fine. But anyways, Nick is slowly triangulating the wagons. That's funny. You think it's a fifth? Maybe Carver. I have not paid attention to that. In my mind, it's the vast majority are correct. And that's what I would say when I was criticized about maybe similar things. And maybe I was feeling some type of way about it. Like, okay, the vast majority are right, okay. Have Nick get the phones. Sorry. Have Nick get the phones. We got Zit with a super chat. Thank you, sir. Says Elon has named Trump in the Epstein roster. Do you believe it? I don't know what to believe. Don't they say Trump went off on the Lolita Express, but he woke up. He woke up. I don't know. Should it come out? He went to some Epstein. I don't know what to tell you, man. What do they say about I'm thinking of a certain leader. I can't think of who it was. A certain man of steel who had maybe personal issues, maybe a sordid past, but yet remained the man of steel to do what he's doing today. So I don't know what to say, Zit. I don't know what to say, man. I think it's politics. I think it's a weird, strange world out there, and there are, I think, some evidence, and I'll move on after this. I think there's some evidence that there seems to be some actors that don't wish for this whatever the information is to come out. What can I say? Trump's a legend. Legends are sometimes legendarily, if you knew your heroes, if you knew the legends, if you knew, you would be, you know what you would do? You would react like the masses of the world who can't handle the truth, who can't handle life. All this isms, even though I don't believe in racism, anti-Semitism, misogyny, I don't believe those words exist. Honestly, what is described as those things, the masses can't handle it, I notice. Anti-Semitism, misogyny, racism, it should be held for people that get it. when the vulgar masses get their hands on misogyny, anti-Semitism, and all that, they turn it into hate. They don't get it. Okay, it's like, no, I'm telling you, women are evil, not to go and kill them and hurt them. What's wrong with you, you insano person? It's like, honestly, you know, you wouldn't even understand the legends you love if you knew what's going on in their minds, if you really knew life in the world. That's it from me, folks. We got to go. How about this? 1 minute. You got 60 seconds, Hector. I don't know, since you've been holding here and you called me back a few times. You're on the air, Hector. And go. Real quick before
What's up, Nick?
How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you for taking my call, man.
Right on, Hector.
Hey, I was trying to call for a couple days. I keep hearing this dude Mark.
Man, your phone's coming in terribly. Make sure you're not on speaker and speak into your phone.
I was calling about this dude Mark, this snowman, white dude from LA. They keep calling in, man.
Yeah, about Mark. Man, I want to hear you. I want to hear you out, not necessarily to dog on callers, but you clearly have a comment. But your phone is terrible, man, and I just don't have the time to fix it. Can you call me tomorrow?
Yeah, I've been calling like 3 days.
I understand, Hector. I think I seen you waiting on hold maybe for another show, but straight up, if you listen back to your call, you'll realize it's undoable, Hector. Call me back. You'll realize your call we can't understand you, sir. But call me back some other time, sir. All right, folks, that's it for me. That's the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm out of here. Make sure you're liked and subscribed. You never know what happens on Fridays. Yes, I read your super chat, Thor Mode. Definitely read it earlier about the United Healthcare CEO. And appreciate all the other supporters, folks. Hake Report and wow, look at you. My members on Rumble, and that's it. All right, y'all. Take care, folks. Like and subscribe. Do the things. But for now, I say goodbye. Bye. Oh, little Nick, too. He's got to say bye. Bye.
The views, information, thoughts, and opinions expressed during this show are the individual's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of the JLP Network or Bond. Their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The JLP Network and Bond name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service.